Got dreams of being a professional podcaster, but have no idea what you're doing?
This is impossible.
That's about to change.
A new kind of school.
Welcome to the Pod School Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the show. Last week I was talking about how you record a podcast. I went right back to basics. And today, as promised, I'm going to talk about microphones. I will pre-warn you and say that I am not going to give you 700 microphone options in this episode. I am going to only recommend you the ones that I have personally used, because sometimes I find with podcast recommendation articles, the list can go on ad infinitum. And if you are just starting out, it's very hard to work out, well, which of these 700 microphones is actually the best one for me. So I find if you're beginning, it is best to have less options. And I will tell you why I like each of the recommendations that I'm going to be batting up today in the episode. The first thing I want to say about microphones is that they are absolutely essential if you want a high quality podcast. The microphone that you use is really going to be one of the most important factors in whether or not your show sounds good. There are some other things around that, obviously, but in terms of audio quality, recording on a high quality microphone is often the difference between it sounding like you are a professional operation and a two-bit operation that's just wheeled on into podcast town and given it a crack. So obviously, if you want your show to compete, how it sounds is one of the most important things, in that the content is obviously essential, but you can have the best content in the world, and if it sounds grainy and crackly and you can't really get a sense of what people are talking about, well, people aren't going to stick around and listen anyway. The other thing that's essential is where you record and the environment that you're recording in. So you can have the best, most expensive killer mic in town, and if you are recording in a toilet, it's going to sound crappy. You really have to make sure that the environment you record in is as conducive to high quality sound as possible. And that really just means staying away from reflective surfaces or big echoey rooms, high ceilings, windows, tiles. I am recording right now in between three couch cushions. I just put a couple in a little triangle and then one on top so that I can just create a little dead space for the audio. This is because I rent. I can't create an independent little voiceover booth in my house. And I also just find this super simple. I chuck it up, I sit in front of it, I record into it, and it removes any of the echo in the room and makes things sound much higher quality. So you really don't need to spend a lot of money decking out a home studio or dedicate an entire room to being your voiceover booth. You can do it in a way that means that you can just set something up quickly and dismantle it again. But it is really important because a great microphone will actually pick up more of the sounds of the room. And so if you sound like you're in an echoey space, that's not going to be great quality, because the more echoey it is, the further away you are from your audience. You really want to be right up close and personal in their ears. And that means getting as intimate as possible. So you need to get close, and echoey large rooms are going to make you sound far away to your audience. The other thing I'm going to mention super briefly is two words: condenser and dynamic. There are two types of microphones that often get referred to in podcasting: the condenser microphones and the dynamic microphones. Often people go into a world of detail that you do not need. So I'm not going to explain in depth the inner workings and the vibrations of membranes and whatever else. I'm just going to say very, very simply, the difference between the two that matters to you is that a condenser microphone is really something that you would use if you had a serious studio setup. So a condenser microphone, it often requires power to the microphone, so you can't use it unless it's plugged into a power source. But the thing that's really important to note with a condenser microphone is that it provides a really rich sound, but that also means that it picks up a lot of the surrounding noise in the environment that you're recording in. So if you are in a radio studio that is designed to have a sort of dead sound, that's no echo, that, you know, is really supposed to be set up for studio quality audio, then a condenser mic is fantastic. But if you're just recording in your home studio and you're trying to get rid of some of the echoey noise, but it's not a perfect space, then a dynamic microphone is going to be better for you, because it's not going to pick pick up as much of that surrounding sound. So that's really all you need to know between the two when you're starting out, is that a dynamic microphone, if you are recording at home, is probably going to be the best option. Some people say the sound is less rich. I am currently recording on a dynamic microphone. I think that this is fine. The rich sound sometimes is one of those sort of extra levels of audio quality you need in an ad or a voiceover. But when you're trying to be intimate with your listeners and present and just sound good and in their ears, I think a dynamic microphone is fine, particularly because for most of us, we're recording at home. So you don't want to pick up those extra sounds of the neighborhood or the environment. So which microphones do I recommend? I'm going to take you very quickly through just a few that I have used. The first is the simplest and the cheapest. It's called the Audio-Technica ATR 2100. If you have been researching podcasts, you would probably have seen this recommended a million times. I actually have only recently used it to record a podcast. On the show notes page, you can find that by heading to podschoolpodcast.com and typing microphone into the search bar. I will pop a little embedded player of an episode that I recorded of a podcast that I do for Mamamia called Batch Chat, where I discuss The Bachelor. Yes, that is part of my job. And it actually sounds really good. I will almost always record on the microphone that I am recording on right now, which I will take you through in a moment. But I was traveling and I forgot to pack my kit, and I desperately needed a microphone in 5 minutes. And so I just raced to JB Hi-Fi. This was 95 Australian dollars. I purchased it. You plug it directly into your computer, and away I went. It's an awesome mic to travel with. It's really light. It's also got the XLR option, which is the little 3-pronged plug that you plug in if you're going to go into a mixer or alternatively a portable recording device like a Zoom or something. So it's versatile and you can use it for other things rather than just plugging it into your computer, but it's really simple, it's really cheap, and it works really well. So have a listen to the audio on the show notes page so you can get a sense of what it sounds like. The second microphone I'm going to suggest is this one that I am on right now. It's a Shure microphone, SHURE. It's the PGA 58. I have been recording most of my podcasts on this for years, and I find it excellent. The only thing is it's not for plugging into your computer. It's only for using if you have a mixer or what I use, which is the Zoom H6, which is a portable recording device. I record all of my podcasts on portable device if at all possible. I prefer it. I just have had too many podcasts crash midway through on my laptop. I find the Zoom super reliable, very portable and easy to use, and I think the mic quality is really good of the PGA 58. So that's my top recommendation. The other microphone that I have at home is the Rode Podcaster. Now, this is quite a big microphone. It's dynamic again. It is also a USB microphone, so it plugs into your computer. It looks very snazzy. It comes with like a boom arm, which is this big thing that you sort of attach, which looks a bit like you've got a radio studio at home. But really, it's not a mic you can move around. You can buy a stand for it, but it's kind of big and a bit clunky. I wouldn't travel with it really. I just attach it to my desk, and if I'm recording things on my desk, I often use it to record video rather than podcasts because I can't actually get any little voiceover box around it because it's too big and kind of cumbersome. That's why I use my PGA 58 because I can wrap some couch cushions around it and create a little dead space to record in, but I can't necessarily do that with the Rode Podcaster. If you're recording in the right room and it's not full of reflective surfaces, you can get a really good sound out of that, and I'll often record a lot of my videos using that, but that can be a great option as well. There are a bunch of other microphones that people recommend, but those are the ones that I have personally used, and I think that they are great. They do the job. They're not super expensive. Some people recommend mics that are getting up to the $300, $400 mark. I mean, if you are kicking off your podcast, those are not the things you need to even be thinking of. Of course, as you start to get better and better with time, you can think about improving your gear and getting better stuff. But I've been doing this for over 16 years and I still record into a little PGA 58 that cost me about $80. So that $500 kind of mark isn't entirely necessary unless you just love gear. And in that case, I'd just go around and read some reviews and see what resonates with you. But certainly those microphones when you're kicking off, and even well into the success of your podcast will serve you really well. I hope that's helped you work out what kind of mic you need to record your podcast. If you need a little more help with your show, of course, you can head to podschool.com.au, which is my online podcasting course. And if you are finding these tips helpful or have friends who want to start their own podcast, please pass this show on and leave a review wherever you listen. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you next week. And until then, happy podcasting.
That's all for today.